Hello and good morning. Joe Justice here, coming to you live on January 27th, 2023. Can you believe we are at the end of January, just a few more days, and we are going to be into February. So we'll have Monday and Tuesday next week, but then we're going to be into the month of February. It feels like it was just yesterday that it was Christmas time, but here we are live talking at the end of January, and it really is something else. So glad to have you all with us today. We are doing a live tech support call today. This week, we had a lot of really great guests this week. We had Brett and Brad, Brad with Sonic Wall, and of course Brett with talking about his IoT systems and everything that he's involved with around the community. Of course, Advantage Technology is Appalachia's greatest IT company. And my name is Joe Justice. I am kind of the ambassador for Advantage Technology and like to help out with everything that I can to help spread the word and help everybody that needs help with IT. So today we're going to be talking some basic tech support stuff. We got some questions in, and hopefully we'll get some live questions as well. So let's take a look here at some of the stuff that we've gotten in here. How do I know if an email is spam? Okay, that's a great question. How do you know if an email is spam? So first things first, when it comes to spam, there's the old saying, trust but verify, and that saying is completely out the window when it comes to spam. Do not trust but verify. Assume that everything is spam. And by the way, when it comes to this question, I think what's going on is what they're actually asking is it some kind of malware? Is it some kind of bad email? Spam is not the same thing as a malicious email. So a malicious email is the kind of email that's describing that delivers some kind of a payload, like a Trojan horse, or maybe it's got ransomware, or it's got some other kind of spyware or something like that. That's malware. That's a malicious email. Spam is unsolicited email. So, and that started in the very early days of the internet, kind of like the internet equivalent of junk mail. So that's what spam is. So when the question comes through, how do I know if an email is spam? I think what they're actually asking about is whether or not it's malicious. Now, you should assume that all email is malicious. That's usually your best bet with something like that. Just assume. So if you get an email, an unsolicited email from absolutely nobody, from out of the blue, that says, oh, here's your invoice for this product. So the way that this scam works is they'll say, here's your invoice, you owe $1,000. Of course, you're going to see that email and go, whoa, I don't remember paying $1,000 for anything. Then you're going to open up the invoice to see what in the world's going on there. Of course, it's got some kind of malicious file, or it links to something that's got malicious software. All kinds of different. These are just kind of techniques used for getting people to deliver the payload, which is some kind of malicious intent, some kind of malicious software. That's kind of the idea with something like that. So if you get anything like that, if you get anything in the mail that's like that, any email that's unsolicited, has some kind of attachment, then just don't open it. Now, along those same lines, it's very common to get emails that are actually from someone, because what happens a lot of times is if somebody's email gets compromised, then it will send emails to other people that have been sent emails to recently. So it'll appear to be coming from somebody that you know, and it might say something like, have you seen this? And you'll also get similar things like in Messenger and like Facebook or LinkedIn or WhatsApp or any of those. You'll get somebody whose account is taken over and say, have you seen this? And it'll be like a link or something like that. And just assume, if it's something like that out of the blue, that it is malicious. You can always double check. Don't open files if somebody sends you something that says, oh, here's an invoice for $2,000. Don't open it up. Email them back. Say, is this really from you? Now, if you don't recognize them, just don't call them at all. But so, like I say, there's a difference between spam and malicious email. If you suspect it's malicious email, always assume it's kind of malicious email and then go from there. How can I tell if I have a virus? Well, first things first, you should have an antivirus on your computer. If you have an antivirus on the computer outside of any kind of 0-day type antivirus, outside of any kind of 0-day viruses, then you should know that there's something on there. Some of the signs that you've got some kind of maybe like a Trojan horse or something to that effect is you'll run into your computer will be acting funny, will be acting strange. Odd things will happen. Those can be Trojan horses. Somebody has taken over your computer. If your mouse is ever moving by itself, that's a sign. If you see all modern cameras that are on computers have a little LED light that'll let you know when they're recording. If you ever see that LED light pop on by itself, then that'll kind of give you a clue that there's something going on. If you have emails going out, if you're having emails being sent out that you're not sending, that's a sign that you've got some kind of malware on your system. So keep an eye out for little odds and ends like that, and watch out for that. Oh, here's a funny question. Why do people create viruses in the first place? Okay, so, well, there's a few reasons for this, actually. So the very first virus from back in the 80s, the very first computer virus ever created for the personal computer system was created by a high school kid that was trying to prank his friends. And that, oddly enough, that kind of spirit is what's driven most of the hacker community when it comes to the computer world. The creations are kind of people that kind of tinker around with it and try to figure out ways to hack systems. Hackers were traditionally just kind of kids that were just playing with things. And what happened after that was they would find some kind of exploit that they could use, and then that's when the criminals would get involved. And of course, there's also state level actors that are involved with that kind of stuff. Intelligence agencies from state level governments all over the world, they have their own kind of cyber systems, that they can use for hacking or payload deployment, things like that. So why did they create these viruses? They typically create them. Some people just create them out of fun. Literally, they just think it's fun to try to ruin people's day. Some people just want to see the world burn. Now, the other reason is, of course, ransomware is a pretty straightforward. They're just trying to get money. And then another common reason for viruses, and when I say viruses, really mean malware, because a virus is a kind of a specific type of malware that's actually typically not really deployed that much anymore. When we're talking about viruses, when we're talking about malware, we're talking about kind of the broader extent of software that does malicious things like Trojan horses, mass emailers, botnets, things like that, ransomware, all that kind of stuff falls under the malware category, where it doesn't necessarily fall under the virus category. So most people just kind of generically refer to that kind of stuff as viruses. But so when we're talking about malware in general, they might be deploying it to steal information. Information is very valuable. If you have any kind of identification information, personal identification information, that can be used to create fake IDs, fake birth certificates, all kinds of information that's available that criminals want to get their hands on. They want to do identity theft, set up credit cards in your name, for example, or set up credit cards in some name. If you're a business and you've got all kinds of personal identification information on people, that's very, very valuable. If you're trying to, create like credit cards and stuff like that, you could apply for credit cards, get credit cards, have it in all these different people's names, and before the bank figures it out, or before the person who the identity actually belongs to figures it out, well, you've already racked up a huge bill, you got all kinds of stuff. That can be pretty handy to you. So that's the kind of stuff that criminals are after when they're creating malware. Another really common thing is they'll use it to take over your computer. So botnets are very popular, and they're used for a variety of things. One of the most commons is denial of service attacks. So a denial of service attack is when a whole bunch of computers would try to access, say, a website all at once. And what will happen is the hackers will take over the websites to deny the service. Well, they'll take over a bunch of computers all over the world, and then when they need them, they'll just deploy them to try to do this denial of service. They might also use it for cryptocurrency mining. There's lots of money in cryptocurrencies, like Bitcoin, for example, but it needs to be mined. And the only way to mine cryptocurrency is with computers. So if they take over your computer and they use it as a botnet, now it might not be, it could very well be that it's a server in your office that nobody would even notice necessarily that it's being taken over. As opposed to like your personal desktop computer. So it's a really common thing, and botnets have become more and more common. So that's definitely something to keep an eye out for. And that's all we got for today. We had those are the 3 questions we could get to today, and it is 10 minutes. It's 10 minutes after, and it has been fun. If you have any other questions, make sure you send them to me. You can send me any questions at jjustice@advantage.tech. Oh, wait, let's see. We got a question pop up just now. When it comes to viruses in general, cyber threats, what role does social engineering play in the hacker's ability to gain access to a network? That's a great question. Social engineering is primarily the way that criminals do access networks. Social engineering is, so for example, if I call someone, and let's say I call somebody's secretary, and I say, hey, or personal assistant, and I say, hey, I'm with this guy and he needs his password reset. Could you send me what his password is? And maybe his personal assistant has the password and reads it to you over the phone, and then you're able to access it. That's social engineering. It's not really hacking. So hacking is the process of when you're actually manipulating the computer. When you're manipulating people to give you information, then that's social engineering. And social engineering is used all the time. It's way, way, way more common than actual hacking is. Hacking is, hacking is just one way. Phishing, for example, phishing emails, that's an example. That's actually social engineering. That's not hacking. So it's tricking you into opening an email, clicking on links, things like that. So hope that helps out. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up for today. If you have any questions, you can send them to me or message me right here on Facebook or on LinkedIn. Drop me a comment if you have any questions, and next week I'll be happy to answer those for you live. All right, guys, you guys have a wonderful Friday. Have a great weekend, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye for now.